The Carthaginians earned some money again and decided that it was high time to expand a little. While they were fulfilling the terms of the peace treaty, Rome took Corsica and Sardinia. Carthage wasn't shy and captured a part of Iberia. The Carthaginians founded a city and called it the New Carthage. It became an important centre of trade in the Western Mediterranean. How did they do that? The best trading place again. Is Carthage the magic word? In sum, Carthage began to make more money and recovered from the First War. There were Greeks there and they asked Rome for help. Greeks really messed things up there. We must seize territories where there are no Greeks next time. But it was too late. Wow! Brilliant! And Rome was just waiting for this. The Romans interfered in the affairs of the Carthaginians. The Ebro Treaty was agreed with Rome, specifying the Ebro River as the northern boundary of the Carthaginian sphere of influence. All are happy but Rome. And in some time, Rome made a separate agreement with the city of Saguntum, which was situated well south of the Ebro in the Carthaginian sphere of influence. They became part of the Roman state and the Romans had to protect them. It's cool. Hannibal was made supreme commander of Iberia at the time. He decided to attack the city. After enduring 8 months of siege, Saguntum was finally overrun. Rome went about its business and somehow forgot to protect the city. Hey, how did that happen? We were distracted. Hannibal, bring the city back. It's ours. Nope, when we signed the treaty it wasn't yours. Rome declared war on Carthage. Preparation began. Hannibal planned to invade Italy. He had 60,000 soldiers and 37 elephants. At first, Hannibal made an agreement with the Gauls to pass unhindered through their land. No problem, the enemies of Rome are our friends. Hannibal came up with a brilliant idea. The Romans were waiting for the Carthaginian army from the sea in the south of Italy and accumulated their troops there. He decided to take his army over the Alps and attack the Romans from the north. The army's trip wasn't easy due to the harsh weather conditions and ambushes of tribes who lived in the Alps. Their 5-month journey at an end, Hannibal's army of 60,000 was reduced to 26,000. Over half his men had perished or deserted on the way. And elephant numbers dropped. Surprise! The Carthaginian army appeared in the north. This was a surprise. Well, what can I say? The Romans were extremely shocked. But they had some soldiers there. The battle took place in the flat country on the right bank of the river Ticinus. In sum, the battle was lost by the Romans. You know, Rome couldn't attribute the defeat to a storm. Reinforcements came to the aid of the Romans. And then Hannibal fooled the Romans again. He allowed the Romans to win in a minor battle and gave them confidence in the simplicity of a future victory. The Romans wanted to defeat the Carthaginian army, but unexpectedly, a small fight turned into a full-scale battle for which the Romans were not ready. Here's how the battle looked. 1,000 infantry and 1,000 cavalry were left in ambush. Hannibal sent his Numidian cavalry across the river to provoke a fight. Sempronius, a Roman consul, promptly ordered out the Roman army. He was so eager to give battle that few, if any of them, had eaten breakfast. The Numidians withdrew slowly, and Sempronius pushed his whole army after them, through the icy waters of the river, which was running chest-high. The Romans were met by the Carthaginian light infantry, with behind them the entire Carthaginian army forming up for battle. The Romans also organised themselves in battle formation and advanced. Fresh Carthaginian cavalry routed the outnumbered Roman cavalry, and Carthaginian light infantry outflanked the Roman infantry. A previously hidden Carthaginian force attacked the Roman infantry in the rear. Most of the Roman units then collapsed, and most Romans were killed or captured by the Carthaginians, but some of them maintained formation and fought their way out to a safe place. The Carthaginians won this time too, but with great losses. There were only 7 elephants left. The flow of Gallic support for the Carthaginians became a flood, and their army grew to 60,000. The Carthaginians continued their march through Etruria to the Adriatic coast, then marched south into Apulia, in the hope of winning over some of the city-states of southern Italy. It was a difficult journey due to bad weather and storms. A lot of people died. There was 1 elephant left. When news of the defeat reached Rome, it initially caused panic. The Roman Senate authorised the raising of double-sized armies, a force of 86,000 men, the largest in Roman history up to that point. They placed garrisons at Tarentum and other places against the possibility of Carthaginian raids or invasion. Hannibal set an ambush, and in the Battle of Lake Trasimene completely defeated the Roman army, killing 15,000 Romans and taking 15,000 prisoner. A cavalry force of 4,000 from the other Roman army were also engaged and wiped out. At that time, Quintus Fabius was elected dictator in Rome. Facing an outstanding commander in Hannibal, he pursued a then novel strategy. He accepted only smaller engagements on favourable ground, rather than risking his entire army on direct confrontation with Hannibal himself. It was guerrilla warfare. Hannibal marched through the richest and most fertile provinces of Italy, hoping the devastation would draw Fabius into battle, but Fabius refused. "Hey Romans, come out to fight." "No, sorry, I've promised my parents to stay home today. Maybe tomorrow." But at this time in Spain, the Romans were able to inflict multiple defeats on the Carthaginians and destroy their fleet, and then landed in North Africa to start a military campaign. This turned out to be a failure. Rome and Carthage were preparing for full-scale battle. Hannibal had 50,000 soldiers, and Rome's army had 90,000. The elephants were gone. It was the Battle of Cannae. The Romans had the conventional deployment for armies of the time, placement of infantry in the centre, with the cavalry in 2 flanking wings. It was a tortoise formation, very strong and tight. Very effective while advancing upon the enemy under arrow fire. The Romans hoped to restrain Hannibal's cavalry and destroy the Carthaginian infantry. Hannibal the commander showed his talent again. His formation was the following. The cavalry was placed on the wings too, and the infantry adopted a convex arc shape. Upon the onset of the battle, the Carthaginian centre withdrew before the advance of the numerically superior Romans, and gave them the impression that forward movement equalled winning. While this was occurring, the Carthaginian cavalry defeated the Roman cavalry on each side of the battle lines, and then swept forward on both flanks to encircle the Roman army and close the trap. Surrounded and attacked on all sides with no means of escape, the Roman army was subsequently cut to pieces. An estimated 70,000 Romans were killed or captured at Cannae. In terms of the number of lives lost within a single day, Cannae is among the costliest battles in all of recorded human history. Hannibal lost 8,000 soldiers. The aftermath of the battle was a nightmare. For a brief period, the Romans were in complete disarray. Their best armies in the peninsula were destroyed, and the few remnants severely demoralised. Rome declared a national day of mourning, as there was not a single person who was either not related to or acquainted with a person who died. Furthermore, the morale effect of this victory was such that most of southern Italy, including the 2 largest cities, Capua and Tarentum, joined Hannibal. Syracuse and Macedonia also secured an alliance with Carthage. In sum, Carthage was doing well. Rome was a very fortified city, and Hannibal didn't dare to attack it yet. He did offer a peace treaty to Rome, but they refused it. Back in Rome, the surviving consul issued a no-crying decree, and instead urged the people to buck up and rebuild the army. Hannibal decided to wait out the winter in southern Italy. What's the big deal? The climate's nice. Good to rest a little bit before new battles. It was a big mistake. Did you think that the Romans suddenly attacked and defeated them? No, there were no battles. The Carthaginians were quietly resting, feasting, idleness. Many of them married Italian women and no longer wanted to fight. This weakened the army more than all sieges, marches and assaults. After this winter, his army didn't win any major victory. Hannibal tried to capture Nola, but failed. So the myth of perfect invincible Hannibal was demystified.